I would like to welcome you to our interactive Festival Connections webinar. Festival Connections is our monthly online program of expertise, knowledge, and networking between India and the UK. I'm Rianne D'Souza, and I'm currently leading on the Festivals program at the British Council. This session particularly hits close to home since my alma mater, St. Xaviers College, Mumbai, is part of the panel. In my 5 years there, I was presented with a great learning opportunity by participating in the college's annual cultural festival, Malhar. It was the first step towards working in a professional environment, which laid the foundation for me and countless other peers with respect to our careers. Drawing from multitudes of similar experiences from across India and the UK, we're excited to bring to you Building Foundations, a spotlight on youth-focused festivals. We have a stellar lineup of speakers from youth-led college festivals. We have Bits Goa's Waves, St. Xaviers Malhar, under 25 focused theatre festivals, Thespo, young creator-focused F of X festival, and youth experience-focused Boomtown festival from the UK. British Council has always been a catalyst to strengthen cultural and social development in the sector. With the dawn of this new reality, we are aware of the uncertainty surrounding our industry, both in India and the UK. Nevertheless, we firmly believe that culture connects us and creativity and collaboration binds us together now more than ever. At the British Council, through some of our work, we have also been closely monitoring the impact of COVID-19 on the creative sector here in India. The second edition of the Taking a Temperature report, developed along with FICCI and the Artex company, focuses on the gradual opening of the Indian creative sector. Both these essential reports are freely available for culture professionals on the British Council website. So do take a look. With that, I would pleased to hand over to Rashmi Dhanwani, founder, director of the Artex company, to introduce our esteemed panelists and take the session forward. Rashmi, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rianne, and it's quite exciting that you've been able to introduce the session, in some sense also introducing your alma mater. And as usual, it's always such a pleasure and a delight to be working with British Council and hosting this with you. Just a very warm good evening and good morning to all of you, depending on wherever you are signing in from the world. We're happy to begin 2021, which has already sort of seen a few rough waters, but I think when we look at what the future generation has to offer, this is a good session for us to look at in terms of what does the creative sector look like for young people today, and what does the festival space look like for young people today? And hence this session, as we've already mentioned, focuses on youth-led and youth-focused festivals. Before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to inform you that we've been ensuring that more of you are able to access this session. This event today is being simultaneously translated into Hindi, which you can access via the interpretation button, which is at the bottom of your Zoom screen. This session is also being streamed live on the Artex company's Facebook page. So if you'd like to invite a friend or a colleague to view these sessions, feel free to share the link amongst them. We are very keen to have more students and aspiring festival managers and young professionals join this conversation today, because most of us have a first taste of the sector while being in college and working in the social and dramatics unions or festivals of colleges. So for that, I'd like to offer a big thank you to our outreach partners, Under 25 Festival and Commune, who helped us get the word out to this community. Just to also let you know, following from the session, we'll be making connections between and networks between festivals and college students, so they could partner up on internships for festivals this year. So if you'd like to gain some experience, perhaps now working with the festival in its digital format and later in a physical format, there will be a poll that will come up shortly asking if you're interested. Do fill the poll, give us your consent, and we'll get in touch with you shortly. You can also write to us at info@art-x.co. The email will also be shared on the chat window shortly. Rianne has already spoken about our speakers, and I'll introduce them as they come up. But just to sort of give you a quick sense of how this session is different from the previous Festival Connection sessions is that we're not moderating alone. We've actually got two other moderators who are Radhika Zaveri and Aniket Chatterjee, both from the Malhar Festival. Radhika is the organizer in the marketing department, and Aniket is the organizer in the security department. So they'll be co-moderating the session with me. Welcome, Radhika and Aniket. I look forward to hosting the session with you as well. Just to go back to our speakers, each of our four speakers will be talking about different aspects of the festival. Everything from how do you run invite-only festivals, which are not led by a key brand sponsor? How do you create bridges between university experiences and professional theatre? What about festival structures that run despite the constantly changing student workforce? And finally, insight into prepping for a live festival later in, this year from the UK. So we've got four different dimensions of how each of these festivals, with the key ingredient of youth in their vision, in their execution, what are the kind of changes that they are dealing with, the navigations that they're dealing with, and how are decisions being made amongst these communities right now. I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Ahya. Jay is the founder of several creative initiatives like the Beach House Project, the Road Trip Experience, and of course, FFX, a creative-first festival that takes place inside of a forest in Jim Corbett National Park. FFX works with creativity-led brands to develop communities and content. Over to you, Jay.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Rashmi. I was really looking forward to this one, especially because of the topic. Guys, I'm going to be sharing a small presentation about the festival and my top learnings from it in the last few years. Rashmi, please give me a thumbs up if you can see this, or if you can just say if you can see this.
I don't know if you can see me, but yes, we can see this.
Yes, I can see you. Great. So, guys, I'm Jay. A very good evening. I run something called the Experience Co. We have been working at the intersection of people, places, and possibilities since 2014 in the country. And we started the company not with an intention to really build a company here, but with an intention to create experiments that would, get people out of their garages, get people out of, their hiding spaces, and bring them into spaces which are safe, which are designed for conversations and collaborations. And the one quote that has motivated me in the last 6 years every single day is that, if you really want to bring about a movement, it's not going to happen overnight. We're going to have to start a lot of small creative movements before we can start a big one, or we can change something about the country. In 2016 or 17, we had a realization that, hey, you know what, India is a country of 1 billion people, but we don't have a single space, which is like an annual function for creators, And we wanted to basically go to this space ourselves, and when we didn't find one, we said, hey, you know what, let's make something like this happen in the country. Where creators, rebels, misfits, movement makers, culture shifters can come together and talk to each other about stuff that matters to them, find ways to collaborate with each other, find a tribe that they sort of vibe with. And with that intention, we started something called the FFX, or Festival of X, where X is the value that every creator, every passionate founder out there is looking for in their lives. And we wanted to create a festival where they can come and either find this X, or they can find people with whom they can discover the X. And you know what? Why do a festival in the normal, boring style? Because you're working with an audience that is really, really diverse, really, really different. We wanted to break some rules to create the festival itself. So Festival of X was all about breaking some rules. The first rule that we broke was, you know what, FFX is not going to happen in the city. It's not going to be happening in a hotel. It's going to be happening in nature. It's going to be happening next to a water body because of the energy and the openness and the expanse it provides. Second, that, hey, you know what, nobody has to go home at 7 p.m. That's really, really detrimental to the fact it stops great conversations from happening. So FFX is a residential festival, and everybody stays together, lives together. There are no speaker zones, no attendee zones. Everybody's just hanging out together. Third, we wanted to focus on growth, experiences, learnings, and collaborations. And we didn't want to just look at it as, hey, here are master classes, here are talks, here are workshops. No, we wanted to make it all inclusive. We wanted to make it comprehensive. we had a very different take on designing the program. I'll get to that in a bit. And everything revolves around the equation that we came up with, which was a happy life is equal to f of x max, where x is the value that you are looking for. So the entire space is designed around this core philosophy. Sorry, at the 4 different ends of X, you have the heart, the mind, the hand, and soul. And we designed the festival in this way because we feel at the intersection of these 4 different elements is where X lies. And without them working in sync with each other, it's going to be very difficult for us to drill down into what really makes us tick. So when you come to the festival asks you a simple question: which do you want to grow in? If your answer is that, hey, you know what, I need more inspiration, then you walk to the heart zone. If you say, hey, I need more knowledge, you walk to the mind zone. If you say, hey, I need some more stability, I need to slow down, you go to the soul zone, and so forth. And all these physical spaces basically are designed for conversations, collaborations, and learnings. And because we broke these rules, we were able to do something that we didn't think that we'd be able to make happen. The festival till date, in the last 2 editions, have got about 6,000 plus applications from creators across the country. We have had about 100 plus amazing masters, influencers, and leaders being our guides at the festival. And as Rashmi mentioned at the start, it's an invite-only festival. We wanted to change that bit also, that, hey, you know what, if you have the intention, you are welcome. If you have the need to come and grow, you're welcome. But if you just want to party and if you just want to have fun, maybe this is not the right place. And this is how the venue looks. It's right next to the river, and you can always listen in on the river flowing next to you. So just wanted to sort of bring your focus on the things that I've learned during this time. Contacts and collaborations, these are the most 2 essential parts: tapping into your network and being able to simply have a network that can scale basis of your requirement. Second is, before sponsorship comes budgeting. I'm more than happy to drill down on this maybe offline, but what I mean by this is, first figure out the tangibles that you can offer before you can get into how much money you need to raise from sponsors. Once you've figured out the tangibles, then work your budget backwards from there. On selling to consumers, we were able to sell a festival at such a high ticket price of about 30 grand, which is equivalent to what a magnetic field charges after 6 years of being in business, is because we were able to understand data at a very, very, at a level where we understood our audience, we understood what they want, and we heard them, we designed the program, we fine-tuned it, and then everything that we did was extended into Instagram, into our email communication, so on and so forth. And just sort of the last one in terms of selling to brands, please make sure that the vibe that you have offline matches your vibe online, because brand managers are always looking out for opportunities to enter new markets. Well, that's my time, guys. I'm Jayati. This is me on Instagram, and this is all the stuff that we do in the country. Come hang out with us soon. Looking forward. Sorry, Rashmi, for going over time.
That's fine, Jay. Thank you so much for this. We're a couple of minutes over time, but I'm going to keep getting to it so we're able to sort of ensure that everybody gets the space that we have to discuss. But thank you for a fascinating presentation. I mean, we've spoken about this before, but going through it right now in this context, what came to me quite strongly in what you're saying is there's clearly a space that you're trying to create for this community, and as you say, that sees work as a lifestyle, not just as a career. And what does that mean? So when you're talking about the idea of no curfews, no hierarchies, it speaks of a certain kind of freedom, which to me is interesting, because you're sort of speaking to the community and speaking to their needs and their desires. That idea in some festivals is translated from the point of view of a festival experience or a consumption experience. But here, what you're talking about very clearly also is that if you're coming here to party and think of it just as an entertainment experience, this maybe not be the space for you. So keeping those in mind, and just to sort of break away from that and take it into making it happen. How do you make it happen when you don't have a brand-led festival, when you don't have the direct revenue that comes from most brands that are interested in tapping into this sort of unique audience that you're creating for yourself. How do you resist that temptation, and what is your sponsorship funding model that helps you continue to sort of build and execute this dream that you have for FFX?
Thank you so much, Rashmi. I'll break what you asked into two separate bits. One being, how do we actually make it happen? Well, to be quite honest, out of the 16 people core team that executed the first FFX in 2019, 14 of us had never done a festival before. So we entered the space without knowing anything about it. To be very honest, I didn't know the difference between decor and production like till 1 month before the festival. And the second bit about keeping the festival brand independent. If there are any brand managers listening to this, I don't mean any harm, but what I'm trying to say is that I wanted to build something where the consumers derive so much value out of it that they don't mind paying a premium for it. So if you can create an experience that can actually change someone's life, there is no price tag that you can put on that. And this also keeps me and my core team disciplined to be able to go out and keep creating value over and over again. Because if I do something funny this time, nobody's going to show up for the next FFX. So we wanted to build FFX with that intention. And the good thing was, like, the first FFX broke even just by the money that we raised from the tickets. 95% of our revenues comes from people who attend the festival. And I think that's the most, that's the part which gives you the most amount of freedom. And that sort of gave us the confidence to go out and do it once again without grand money. And till the time it's about temptations, I feel like the thing that can scale is the byproduct of the experience, which is content, but it doesn't need to be integrated into the festival and be so loud about brands being a part of it. It's a very crazy way of doing it, but it works. So I would love more people to try it.
Thanks for that, Jay. And was wondering whether you worked at a college festival, since you said you didn't have any experience of running a festival. But with that, before you answer, actually, this was my cue to get Aniket and Radhika in. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. Hi, Jay. First of all, thanks a lot to share your inputs about FX. Perhaps if you could tell us more about the history of the festival and the themes that y'all revolve around, and adding to that about how y'all go regarding your speaker curation process, given that y'all have such a good lineup of speakers every year.
Thank you so much, Aniket. Step one, like when we are curating the speakers, the first thing that we look out for is, what are they trying to establish in their industry? What are they trying to change? Are they trying to break something, or are they following the rules and they're successful with it? It was funny, somebody on Instagram commented when we launched the entire speaker lineup last year. They said, 50-60% of this profession didn't exist 5 years back. And that was when we also we were like, yeah, a growth hacker as a term didn't exist 4 or 5 years back or 6 years back. It was called something else. But now, because there are so many things, you can be a podcaster / a blogger / a YouTube celebrity / you can be so many slashes in this age that it's very difficult to put these speakers into a bucket. You can't call someone, hey, this is a marketing head from XYZ, because they'd be running like a martial art gig on the side. So the way we curate is where are they on their journey to find their X? How did they get to their X? And as I said, like, the entire festival revolves around that core philosophy. We basically ask them, the first thing they have to tell us is what is their X. And the second thing that we look at is that we don't want to create silos, because you are in art industry, I'm in music industry, he's a designer, he's a illustrator, fashion. That is the boring and old-fashioned way of doing it, the industrial, the verticals. And today, like, if you have to be a successful creator or a founder, you need to be good in 3-4 things at the same time. So that's why we said that instead of looking at the programming as an industry silo, we're going to create it on basis of where you are on your creative journey. Are you somebody who started? Are you somebody who wants to start? Or are you somebody who started and achieved something in it, and now you're scaling up? So now, and the beautiful part is FFX has 33% of each of these 3 buckets. So everybody derives value regardless of where they are, in which industry they come from. Hope that answers your question, Aniket.
Thank you so much, Jay. There will be more questions in the Q&A box, so when you do get a chance, please do answer them. For all of you, do address your questions to the speaker who you'd like to address it to, and we'll come back to the questions as well. We'll just go through all the presentations and then collectively look at what are the core themes emerging. Thanks so much, Jay. Thanks, Aniket. We'd like to move on to our next speaker, Toril Shah. She's a partner at Q Theatre Productions and founder of Thespo. It's a theatre festival in Mumbai, and it's entirely led by a team of people under the age of 25 in some ways, but also it's one of the most well-loved arts organizations and theatre organizations in the country. So it's, we're very excited to have you here. Thespo has also been responsible for launching the creative careers of several professionals in India, and not just creative, the sort of artistic careers, but also the transversal skills. So whether it's theatre management, production, lots of people have been through the hallowed portals of this festival on their way to carving their careers in this sector. And Thespo has just celebrated its 22nd year of running. Congratulations on that, Toral, and over to you for your presentation.
Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you so much. Lovely to be here with everyone this afternoon. I'm just going to share my screen. Hello to everyone. I'm Toral, and I am one of scores of Thespo crew members who have worked on Thespo over the years, and I have been really fortunate to have been a part of the Thespo journey all the way from the very start in 1999. So for those of you who don't know what is Thespo, Thespo started as a very simple one evening of, one act English plays. It was in response to us watching some incredible youth theatre as part of the intercollegiate scenario, but we realized that they were not getting a regular audience. So it came from a desire to share the exciting work that was being done by young theatre people with the rest of the world. That's where Thespo was born in 99. Over the years, it has evolved, it has grown, and what we have grown into currently is not just a festival, though that is what Thespo is known for, which happens at the end of the year in December in Bombay. But we have a whole bunch of initiatives, activities, training programs, showcase opportunities, collaborations, publications that are happening all year round through the year, across the country, across the world. So what we have grown into now is a youth theatre movement. Basically, there are only two requirements to be part of Thespo. One is you have to be under 25. It's a very arbitrary definition of who is considered youth, but that's what it is. And the second is that you have to have a basic interest or curiosity about theatre, and Thespo is here for you, whatever that might be. So what does Thespo do? This can be divided up into 5 categories. It started as a showcase of really exciting youth theatre talent, and it still remains one of the core functions of what Thespo does. We showcase not only full-length productions, platform performances, works in progress, new playwriting. We published a book of plays a couple of years ago called Thespo Writes, Volume 1. We also have e-magazine with 4 issues a year, festival brochure magazine which comes out. So there is a lot of writing and performances that are showcased as part of Thespo. Training is crucial, absolutely, to a young person's journey into any new art form. We have introductory, advanced training workshops, programs. We have lots of mentorship programs for works in progress, and this all goes into building a really strong and thriving youth theatre world. Collaborations, we've been very lucky to have been able to collaborate with theatre practitioners from across the country and around the world. This gives an opportunity for emerging artists from India to work with young artists from around the world, as well as with theatre practitioners who are doing new and exciting forms of theatre in which you may not necessarily have access to on your own independently. So the collaborations have really brought a lot of people together internationally. We celebrate youth theatre. Yes, that the festival is one of our main celebrations at the end of the year, where awards are also presented in various categories and aspects of performing arts. And lastly, and possibly most importantly, what we are trying to do is to build a community, to build a global community of young theatre professionals. So all these efforts, all these other verticals are really pointing towards this one aim. This is our vision. And we have been, there are a lot of activities we undertake. There is an outreach program. We have a theatre watching program called Theatre Bugs, a play reading initiative called Thespo Reads. Thespo Listens is for audio content. We have open houses twice a month on Saturdays called the Saturday Open Houses. So the idea is to reach out, to support each other, and to build a strong community upon which then, you know, theatre practitioners, these young emerging artists can grow. So basically, to sum it up, if you're under 25, you're interested in theatre, come join this global community. And what has allowed us to thrive or to grow in the last couple of decades have been our stakeholders. So these are not just our participants who are the emerging artists, but also the senior theatre community, which has made itself available to train, to guide, to mentor the young practitioners, as well as friends of Thespo. Thespo is a crowd-funded initiative, and without the support of individuals who believe in theatre, who believe in the youth, Thespo would not have reached where it has. Lastly, what Thespo looked like last year? Well, we saw it as an opportunity, really, to evolve and to respond to what the lockdown had thrown at us. Yes, theaters were closed, theater companies were dormant, but there was a need to create, there was a need to express, to respond to what everyone was experiencing. And Thespo moved digital, we moved completely online. We were still about representing the youth and their stories. Our focus very much was on it still being live. So it wasn't about recorded content, but about performing live with a live audience there to interact with. And it was digital. It was completely online. The remaining 3 months also look to be going in the same direction. And I can talk a little bit more about the initiatives we undertook during the Q&A. And basically what it did confirm. I mean, we always knew that theatre is important and theatre will always survive. And I think this last year just like reaffirmed that belief that theatre practitioners, storytellers are still thriving. There can be cinema, there can be OTT platforms, there can be television and, free YouTube content. There can be a lockdown, but the desire to create, to tell a story for a live performer, I think that trumps all these other cards. And it was really wonderful to see how like a whole new genre of performing online, live online, has now evolved, and I hope will continue to evolve. I think that's my time.
That's great, Toral. Thank you so much for covering this. I mean, also to see the journey that Thespo has been in these times. I'm curious to, because it's so, in some sense, youth-led, right? Everything is driven by what are the needs of the young people in this community at this stage. How did this energy, these thoughts, these ideas inform this transition that you spoke about in 2021? How did you move into digital, and who played the key role of enabling this sort of transition within the team or amongst your communities?
So Rashmi, there are a couple of things here. I think one of the strengths of Thespo has been that it is not something that's fixed and defined. It is elastic, it is versatile. We are happy to change, we are happy to evolve. It was really a very natural next step to whatever was happening in the world around us, that yes, we'll connect with people digitally, we'll connect with them online. Like it came quite naturally. The initiatives though, I must say, I mean, we have an incredible team. I'm really not a part of the running of the movement anymore. We have volunteers, we have coordinators, we have fellowships every year, annual fellowships. So we have the Thespo fellows who really took it on. They were sitting in all different parts of the country all year, as they still are, in Hyderabad, in Chandigarh, in Bangalore, in Nagpur, in Pune. And they all just came together online, and they came up with some wonderful initiatives. So one of them, of course, was how to do these live performances digitally. And there has been some incredible innovative work that has gone on in that field. The other was that earlier in the lockdown, there was a need to reach out to young people, who were really isolated. So they started an initiative called Thespo Tapri, which was for short 5 to 7 minute performances. We had like more than 130 entries, and these were then showcased over 4 evenings. There is also a growing interest in audio content. So we started a program called Auditorium, which is to create audio plays. And we've been able to mentor them like every step of the way. It has been a slightly longer duration program, over 6 to 8 months, but it has been a completely new form. We were able to mentor and guide them along the way. So if we just look at the statistics of last year, we had 3,000 crew members and participants last year from across more than 75 towns and cities from 12 different countries, right? So what it did do, which was wonderful, is that it just furthered our vision to build a global community. So because everything was digital, everything was online, we were able to collaborate a lot more. We had 7 international collaborations through the year last year, with directors in Brazil, in Canada. So it really for us, it increased the momentum of bringing people together the last year.
Hi, Toral.
Hi, Radhika.
I loved your presentation, but I was just wondering if maybe you could tell myself in the audience how you managed to keep the costs the same. I think we've spoken about this in one of our prior conversations, and you mentioned that your tickets cost the same amount. And I was just wondering how you manage that. That's so interesting.
So Radhika, like I said, Thespo has been flexible. So we try and grow as much as we can, or contract when need be. So we are a crowdfunded festival, and we did not manage to raise as much as we would normally have, because it's been a difficult year financially for everyone, right? So it is very difficult to expect people to support Thespo, no matter how much the other non-monetary love and support there is. So it has been a struggle, but we've also for our international collaborations, we approach consulates for funding, because we are working with artists from their countries. Sometimes they have some funding towards collaborations like these. We collaborate with other festivals. Perhaps there are some projects that we can propose, which appeal to other festivals. There are also other funding opportunities available from other arts councils across the world, and it really is about just looking out for where we can do it. Ticket prices being the same doesn't really matter so much, because the ratio of fundraising, the percentage of fundraising that comes from ticket sales is not that much. So we would rather keep the theater accessible to young people. If they can only watch one play, we'd rather make 5 plays available to them for the same amount, because we'd love for them to watch more theater, to interact with other young people, and try and do our fundraising elsewhere.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, Radhika, I'm speaking over you, but I think it's the audio issue. I didn't mean to interrupt. Thank you, Toral. Thanks, Radhika. Thanks, Aniket. We'll move on to our next speaker. I'd like to invite Priyal Agarwal from Waves, the cultural festival of Bitstilani Goa campus. Priyal is a second-year student and has been involved with Waves from the moment she joined the college. She's a dance enthusiast and is deeply committed to helping build Waves up every year. Priyal, you also seem to be in a bit of a sweet spot. I remember I was talking to a few other students from college who were like, our first year in college was no year because we didn't really have a first year, and then the third year was supposed to be our last year. So I'm very curious about how did you manage to pivot with Waves, and please do share your presentation and your thoughts with us. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here, first of all. And I'd just like to share my presentation 1 second. Yeah. So I joined Waves in my first year. Like when I was joining Bits Goa, Waves was one of my top departments that I wanted to be in. And Waves is Bits Goa's Inter-College Cultural Fest. It's one of the most highly anticipated festivals across the country. And Bits Goa being one of the most recent Bits establishments, it has seen exponential growth among its participants and in the scale of the fest every year that it's been growing. It's catapulted itself to the epitome of cultural brilliance, and we've had amazing performances by Farhan Akhtar, and we've had people like Priyanka Chopra and Vidya Balan grace our stage. So expanding its horizon, we've also had international artists come up for the EDM night, all DJs in the top hundreds across the world. In 2012, Waves was the proud host to an official pre-Sunburn event, the electro dance music festival that is so loved across our country right now. Another very important aspect that Waves really believes in as such is making sure that as we grow as a fest, we also take responsibility to grow into the social welfare and look into the social welfare of the society. It's important because we are the youth here, and what we do reaches out to a lot of people. So every year when we do Waves, we do have one CSR drive as well. And it's focused on whatever we think we can do best at the moment. Like last year, we had a beach cleanup drive. So we do try to ensure that as we keep the fest growing, we also make sure that we have a name in the Nobel Compass. And so coming to our events and our nights, we have 3 very popular nights. Like Waves is known for its nights. We have the Indie night, we have the Bollywood night, where we've had artists like Farhan Akhtar, Amit Trivedi, Vishal Shekhar come up. And EDM night is the 3rd night. It's the most loved night. We've had Nuclear, and we've had international DJs like Quintino and Diego Miranda come. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to witness all this live in my first year. It's a little painful that in my 2nd year, I had to do this online, but I feel like we've made the best of the opportunity that way. Apart from the nights, Wave starts off with a comedy night. So when we have the 3-day fest, the initial the comedy night, and we've had artists like Abhishek come up, and total. But a few of the major events that are very close to everyone's hearts and that everyone takes something back from has to be the Fashion Parade one. It's done in an auditorium. We have the 2nd largest auditorium in the country. So it's a really nice event where you see so many different teams participate from across the country, put out their creativity. Next is the group dance event, which is Natyanjali. And another very much loved event is Sizzle. It's the street dance battle event. To think that all of this was seen on a TV screen, on movies, and then to see it happen live in front of you, it's a whole other adrenaline rush. And apart from this, we also have Nukkad Natak, which is a street play. We have Mr. and Miss Waves. We have Sea Rock, Indian Rock. So I think Waves in general tries to ensure that there's something for everybody there. It is not limited to a certain person who's only good at this. You will always find something that you can do over there. So in that way, Waves is a very wholesome fest. It will make sure that you go back with tons of memories. For the working of the fest, so there are different departments across the country. There are different departments across our campus that work together to make the fest happen. We have departments that focus on sponsorship, some focus on managing the participants. I'm part of Waves Control. So our main job was to take care of the management of the fest, on fest and pre-fest. So we start from scratch, like months before we start working on the events. We keep updating our event list depending on what hasn't worked well in the past, what we think can do better in the future. So we start off by working on our events. Then we see how to bring those events to life. We start contacting judges. We make sure during those 3 days we are in talks with all the participants and the judges. We are their point of contact. So it's a 72-hour fest. At the end of it, you're drained, but you're drained with a very happy face. You take back a lot of memories from it. And to think that this is done by students only, it's all students across the campus coming together to make it happen. When the Waves team works, we have 3 coordinators, which are the third yearites. We have a team of core, which is the second yearites, which is one of them is me. And then we have the crew, which is the first yearites. So all of them come together. Every year we have 900 first year students who come in, up to 500 come in for the inductions, and we end up selecting 60 of them. So in the end, when you work for such a big fest together, you tend to have a very strong bonding with the team, a very strong sentiment for the fest. And it's a group effort that works out very well in the end. I really hope we can do it offline very soon. But if not, we've done it very well online, and I'm sure we'll keep growing.
Thank you so much, Priyal. It's been such a pleasure listening to you. And it seems like the entry criteria and selection for the festival is almost as difficult as most entrance exams. So I can only imagine what it takes to, select the teams that you have and what it takes to run. But I have a question for you. It's something that we also work with college festivals, but it wasn't very clear how the transitioning happens. Like, how do you pass on the learning from one team to another? How do you retain things like institutional memory, especially when, within 2 or 3 years you're gone and you understand the nature of your role as a transient role. So would love to understand what are the processes and systems that you have set and personally you would recommend to other festivals when it comes to enabling easy transitions of work?
I think what happens is, so when the first yearites come in, they are very new to it and they're very enthusiastic. So they are guided in every way. So the second year students take responsibility to tell them what to do in every step. They don't have any decision-making power as such, but they are told what to do and they tend to do that. Their ideas are appreciated, but they can't take any decisions on their own. Coming to the second yearites, when we come to the second year, we form the core. So we handle all the events, and the third year students can't oversee so much. There are only 3 coordinators in the end, and they have a lot on their heads. So we have the decision-making process according to our events. Like if I handle the dance event, I can tell that, okay, I want this, I do not want this. And when the third year students are selected as coordinators, it's a very, very intense process. It's a 1 or 2 month process at least. And even after that, the students who are passing on the baton, they make sure that they fill them up with all the knowledge that they've learned, with all the things that went wrong, all the things that went right, all the things that can be done better. So it's a continuous learning system. And the thing is, since there is no authority as such, there is no senior figure looking over you, you tend to have that sense of comfort that if you make a mistake, there is someone that you can go and talk to very easily. Right? I think that's very important. It's a continuous learning experience from your first year to the third year. So it's not about the team being changed every year. It's just about how you pass on what you've learned in the previous year. It's just that.
Thank you. And it seems it's a very good balance. Both you and Toral represented in some way youth-led festivals, while FFX and the last festival that we'll be covering is more focused on youth-focused festivals. And what I heard from you both speak is this very interesting balance of mentoring, with decision-making, that how do you mentor the next group who then gets empowered to take the decisions and feels comfortable to take collective decisions. Thank you for sharing that. Over to Aniket and Radhika.
Thanks, Priyal, for the brief about Waves. Given that Waves has a very large scale and you all host participants across the country, a lot of us wanted to know, how do you provide accommodation to these participants and the attendees during the 3 days of the festival?
Whenever a participant registers with us, the accommodation is provided in 2 ways. We try to accommodate everyone on campus as much as we can, because it's a 72-hour fest. Like throughout day and night, there is some or the other event happening. So if someone really wants the whole experience, staying on campus is their best choice. But we do know that is limited, right? So we provide around 1,000 to 1,500 people accommodation on campus. And when that's completely filled up, then we look around for hotels nearby. Since it's Goa, there is no limitation on the hotels close by. We have ample accommodation that way. So then we move on to the hotels nearby. We have tie-ups with them and we provide them rooms over there.
Great.
Thank you so much, Priyal. Thanks, Aniket and Radhika. And with that, we'll move to our last speaker for the day, and then we'll move on to more questions. Captain Barrett, he's the head of music at Boomtown Festival in the UK, which is a fully immersive, theatrical mega beast of a festival with roots in punk, rave, and sound system cultures. Captain has over 20 years of experience working with music and is a festival veteran. Most importantly, he's a self-professed music missionary. Over to you, Captain.
Hi there. Thanks for the introduction. It's really good to hear everyone's different experiences of putting on festivals over there. As a little bit different, especially in the sense that, as you can see, I'm not particularly youthful. I wouldn't say that as is a youth-led festival in terms of the team, but also in terms of the audience. It's very much changed over the years. So now we're at well, in 2019, which was the last festival that we did, it was a 77,000 capacity festival. And that's 60,000 tickets and 17,000 crew and contractors and everyone else that kind of makes the festival run, all the musicians and everything. And our audience has very much changed over the last, well, over 10 years since we started in 2009 until now. Over 50% of our festival is very much 18 to 23. And I mean, it can be very tricky keeping up with that. But we're a festival that are very much theatrically led. We're very much we're like a pop-up city, basically, like a cartoon city that kind of we put into a field in Wiltshire in the UK, and it's a camping festival. Everyone comes from Wednesday through to Sunday, and it's a very different model. So I think what's happened over the last since COVID is we've really kind of looked at that model and how it works and how we can continue on post-COVID. And one of the things that we've really done is to kind of look at what our core values are. I mean, putting on a festival, it's good to hear words like community and everything over there. It is a juggle between your kind of values and being the demands of a commercial festival. But, it's given us a chance to really look at what our values that we want to embed into the festival are. Things such as respect yourself, so that it's a place where you have freedom of expression, and a space for self-empowerment, but also respect each other. It's also a space for community and bringing people together and not having any kind of discrimination against people because of their age or their ability or sexual orientation. Respect for the planet. We're very much looking at how to make it a more sustainable festival. Because festivals, especially ones as big as ours, are very much mini environmental disasters. So we are very much we don't want that. We're all ecologically minded, and we really want to look at how to make the festival more sustainable. So we're putting measures in place for that, but also creativity. We're not just a stage and an audience. As I said, it's a pop-up city with lots of actors and characters and really big, colourful stages. And it's about keeping that creative expression and really kind of pushing the boundaries of that. It's about connection. It's really tricky at the moment. When we're looking at things such as social distancing, but it doesn't really work for our model. It's very much about physical connection over digital connection. And any connection is better than none. So not to completely do digital connection down, but it's very much about that sense of being together and kind of all in it together. And ultimately, it's a celebration. It's a celebration of being alive. It's which is something to celebrate in itself, I think. But yeah, I mean, hopefully you've got some. Oh, sorry, we've got some photos. I forgot to give Yadu the heads up to give a little taste of what it looks like. I don't know if you can put those up, Yadu.
That's fine. We'll just put it up if you can give us 1 second.
Yeah, sure. It's a lot to try and explain in 5 minutes. The festival. Hope you've got some kind of idea. The photos should give you another idea. And yeah, so we are currently just trying to adapt to the situation post COVID. We're reducing the capacity of the festival down by about 15,000. Here you go. Here's a few photos. There's one of our bigger stages. We've got, or we had at least a handful of those, and we're going to continue with the kind of really strong, awe-inspiring stages. But also we build lots of little streets, and here we go. Not so different, maybe. And it's about creating this sense of play and this really creative environment, really. Yeah, hopefully I've given you some kind of idea. If not, I'm very much open to questions.
Thank you. I'm just running through the images so that we're able to. Is my screen still visible, or I'm just gonna just show the rest of the images quickly and. Everyone. Captain, that's fascinating, and I remember, when we were having these discussions earlier on during our lockdown, one of the biggest concerns we had is given the scale of the pandemic globally, but also within India, how would we go back to live events? It's something we've been struggling with, but very early on, because of Festival Connections and the fact that we've always had a speaker from the UK for these sessions, we could see that it was a completely different picture emerging in the UK, right? There were attempts very early on being made to create smaller festivals with air bubbles. So I'm just curious about, while planning for this festival in August, what are the transitions that you have been through in thinking about organizing a physical event, especially when so much of what you're speaking about is the community, the connections, the closeness, and how do you balance that with the health and safety concerns that you're tackling? And I think underlying that is, how did you take these decisions? What were the the motivations for taking certain decisions, and how much were the youth, your core audience, involved in helping you take those directions?
Yeah. So on the last point, we did a lot of focus groups, basically for all of the different audiences, but yeah, certainly within the youth, to see if, one of the things I didn't mention about our model, actually, one of the big things about the new model is we're not releasing a lineup. We've become quite a headliner driven festival, which we never wanted to do. We were always about the experience. And so we're not going to release a lineup, and we wanted to know how people felt about that. It's quite a scary prospect for us to do that, and people were really positive. I think what everybody seemed to say was that they come to Boomtown for the experience. So as long as and they trust us that we will deliver a good experience. So we're lucky that we've built up that trust in the last 10 years. But it all relies on a lot of things to do with COVID. It relies on things like the vaccine rolling out. It relies on cheaper testing for the 15-minute tests. These are the main kind of things, and unfortunately, there's a lot of things we can't move forwards with at the moment until we get a government-backed insurance scheme. And once we need that in place, really, in order to be able to pay people to ensure that we will survive even if we don't do the festival. So there's still a lot of hoops to jump through, definitely. But we are moving forwards with it. We are kind of hanging on to those glimmers of hope there. And if not, then we just work out how to survive and get through that. We also have a venue, which was our office, and where we build a lot of the stages, a lot of the structures. So we're turning that into a socially distanced venue, so that we can at least kind of keep busy and keep our foot in there, and and keep people entertained, at least in Bristol, over here in Bristol. But yeah, as I said, unfortunately, a socially distanced festival, it wouldn't work for us. And a lot of UK festivals, I think what happened to some of the festivals this year or last year was they created camping experiences with little bits, but they're very, very different. They're very different affairs. It's just kind of giving something that they can keep their staff employed and keep people entertained as well. But yeah, very, very different moving forwards. Yeah.
Thank you, Captain. Radhika, Aniket, over to you.
Hi, Captain. Thank you so much for that. Boomtown seems like the place to be. Can't wait to visit. So my question to you is, if maybe you could walk us through your fundraising process, because I think a lot of people here are interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I must state I'm not privy to all of the financial side of things, and I don't think I'd want to be, but I mean, ultimately, it's very much ticket sale led. We're an independent festival. We're one of the biggest independent festivals. Glastonbury are a bigger festival, but they have a very different model. But we do have some sponsorship within that, but we never want to be a festival where you walk around and you're just seeing sort of billboard, and that you're just being sold stuff. Like, we never want that. It's all about the experience. So a lot of those tend to be more alcohol, like drinks based. So you get drinks based deals, and you will push certain drinks, and they will give you money for that. Other than that, we're only just tapping into things like funding. Well, especially now because it's a lot more necessary, but even before that, we'd only recently tapped into kind of funding streams, and it was very much it was about the ticket sales. So there was some investment from the directors in first, but where we've grown so quickly over the years, from the first festival, which was 5,000, the second festival, which was 10, third 20, etc. We kind of capped it at 70 odd. We're like, okay, that's enough. But I wouldn't say it's the best business model. We made the money back, and then we put it straight back into it. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's how you should do things, but that's how we got to where we are, and just kind of having a vision of where you want to be, and a lot of tenacity, and a lot of scary moments.
Thank you, Captain. Radhika, Aniket, Captain, please stay on. I'd like to invite the other panelists to turn on their cameras as well. We'll just have a couple of round of questions that have come in the Q&A box and the team has sent. So I just have one question. I mean, this is something that came to us a little earlier, which is, for each of you, and you can take turns to respond, what according to you, if you're saying the core defining area of your festival that creates an impact for your attendees, what would that be for you, the core of your sort of impact space? And if you had to scale that part in the current environment that we find ourselves in, what would that be? So maybe we can start with Jay. Would you like to go first?
Sure. So Rashmi, for us at FFX, I think helping people find the right network, their tribe, especially the ones that they can vibe with, is what is most important. And as a result of finding people that you vibe with, the second step to that is making collaborations happen between people who don't generally belong to the same world. And that intersection is what's the most interesting outcome for us. And that's true for Beach House, it's true for RTX, and everything else that we do. We sort of like asked this question to ourselves in the lockdown that, hey, you know what, if we can't travel now, how are we going to make collaborations happen? Because meeting face-to-face is so important to get the vibe right. But you know what, we were wrong. It's not only through meeting somebody, but we started something called Pitch Day online, Zoom sessions. It's basically a creative Shark Tank where creators come and pitch their ideas, the projects that they're working on, especially a lot of creators were starting new projects that they finally got time to do in the lockdown. And they were looking for collaborators actively. We just gave them a 15-minute slot
brought them together. And as a result, about 25 collaborators and 15 support systems were created for each pitch on an average on Zoom. So that is the part that we were able to scale online. But if you really ask me, like, would I want to live online with this? I don't think so. We can't wait to get back out there and make this happen in the forest or on the beaches or in the mountains.
Indeed. Toral, would you like to go next?
I think the core, as you mentioned, would be the feeling that you're a part of something larger, that you are part of a group, you're not alone. Being a young person who is experimenting in the arts, trying to figure out if this is for them, is this their calling, will they be able to, live in the arts for the rest of their lives, is a very difficult period. So to be able to have that kind of a community, of like-minded people, I really think that is the strength of Thespo and why people do gravitate towards it. About scaling up, like Jess said, I mean, we are not thrilled about being on a computer all day long. Of course, we want to be in a theater. You want to travel, you want to meet people, have those conversations. But I think that where we are, there is an organic growth that is happening and will happen. I mean, that is the nature of, evolution. And if you think about like the way forward, where we're going to go from here, the growth we are going to see is that we're going to go back to doing things on ground and in person. But we are not going to turn our backs on all the new skills we've learned last year, right? We're going to continue doing, whether it is audio content or digital performances, that is going to now have its own trajectory along with the experiments that were being done on ground. So I think that there is already like growth, inherent in the way forward. So I mean, I'm really excited to see, where this goes now, because we compacted like about 5 or 6 years of what we would have done digitally into this 1 year, because we were all forced to, whether it was development of softwares, whether it was, writing stories for this medium, whatever it was. So that's great, because we've not lost what we had. We've just added this new stuff onto that. And I think it'll be wonderful to see where it grows.
Thanks, Toral. Kaptin?
Oh, hello again. So can you just repeat the question, just so I don't ramble onto an answer that I thought I heard?
Sure, no. I think we were just trying to sort of understand, in your festival, what's the area that, according to you, creates the most amount of impact on your audiences or attendees, and how is it that you would look at scaling that part of your festival, no matter what circumstances we find ourselves in?
Yeah, I mean that's a really tricky one. Obviously, it's kind of all fuses together. So the music and the theatrical side of it and the staging, and the only thing that you can really take that online is the music and to some degree the theatricality of it. But it's a very much a more immersive experience rather than anything else in Boomtown. So it is super tricky. We've been looking at it quite a lot. And we still haven't found the answers, is the honest truth. We did an online event for the last festival, but we really didn't feel it was great. It was, at the last minute, it was super good what everyone put together, but we didn't feel that it captured everything that we really wanted to. So Boomtown is very much a physical festival. So really, we are hopeful that that's what we're going to be able to bring.
Thanks, Kaptin. Priya.
I think for Waves, the thing that creates the most impact has to be one of the 3 nights that goes on. And the second thing is that when one of your colleges is participating, how your entire college comes to support you, just to support that one participant, it creates a feeling of belonging, and that's really nice. So how we tried to create the nights online was we started off by creating live sessions. We had a DJ named Mr. Black, who we did a live session on Facebook. And then we had many artists, including Monali Thakur, Piyush Pasekar, the Swastik Band. So we had all of them come to our Instagram pages and create and conduct lives for us. So initially we were also apprehensive, like the comments would always be that, we wish this was on campus. But I think later on, everyone just came to accept the situation and enjoy it as it was. We would all just join the live with our friends and enjoy the music as it was going on. It's definitely not the same, but we're still trying to have that sense of belonging as we can. And like to conduct the events online, when we conducted the events online in January, to make sure it was still an interactive session for everybody in the same college, we made sure there were these things like when a member from their college is performing, we had these polls and stuff going on in the comments. So there was this competition sort of thing between different colleges and everything. So we were trying to capture all of the feelings that makes Waves what it is. And I think to a certain extent we did. And hopefully we can keep growing in that direction.
Thanks, Priyal. I know Aniket and Radhika may have a couple of questions before we close.
Yeah, so this is a really quick question. It's for Toral specifically. Given that in today's generation, there is a huge dominance of cinema. So how does Thespo manage to attract its audience and still live up to the expectations and show that, theater is and does have an impact yet? So how do you all live up to that expectation?
I think they each have their own space. Like cinema has its space, and theater, it fulfills a different kind of need, whether it's in audiences or in the practitioners. I mean, we all know that there are so many cinema artists who continue to perform on stage, who continue to crave, the live audience feedback, the live performing arts. So I don't see it as competing for an audience or for the artists with people who are going to do cinema or OTT. There is a fairly symbiotic relationship actually between people in the theater who do work across all the different performing arts, right? Like, so you'll have so many theater actors, writers, editors, production people, arts managers who are working on a Netflix show or who are working, in a film somewhere. So it's not really competing. And even as an audience member, the experience of watching a movie is so completely different from watching a play. And it really is about getting somebody to experience it for the first time, and then they do keep coming back. And I think that is where it is all, full credit goes to the young theater artists, because they are fierce, they are bold, they are really fearless. They experiment with form, they experiment with the stories they are telling. They are the ones who are creating the exciting work which is bringing new audiences to the theater. So I think at least I don't see it as a threat. I just, yes, it is always challenging to introduce theater to a new audience member, but you give them a taste of blood, and they'll keep coming back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Toral. So Kaptin, Priyal and Jay, the three of you hold festivals of very large size. And I just wanted to know how exactly you navigate that. So Malhar is, while we have a very small campus, we try to accommodate as many people as we can within the campus. And there's always a very large risk that we're taking that comes with holding a festival of that scale. Maybe if y'all could, give us a few pointers about how you manage that, that would be great. Jay, if you'd like to go first.
I'd love Kaptin if he picks this one, because he has such a massive festival.
I mean, for us, it's about having a good team and making sure that everything's signed off. But I mean, thing is, we could, like I said, we've grown double kind of for a lot of years, and so it's really hard to make sure that you have dotted all those I's and crossed all those T's and really made sure everything's in place. So we've learned from experience more than anything. You know, we've had to deal with fires, with floods, with hurricanes, all of these things, and ultimately you learn kind of on the job of how you deal with these things, and then you get the right people in place. You get a strong team who really know how to do so health and safety, and how to you know, cross those T's and dot those I's. So yeah, it's really about the team, really.
Thanks, Captain. That was really the hurricane sounded really good. I don't know how you learned that on the job. But Radhika, for us, FFX is less of a festival and more of a house party, honestly. We had about only 150 people in the first festival and about 400 in the next one. I feel one of the things that has helped us the most is having a plan A, plan B, plan C. And we are also in the forest, so we have to be careful about the environment, the animals, and the music shuts down at 10 sharp. So what really helps is the plan, and the production team needs to be on the go. They need to be some of the smartest people on your team. Even if your content team and your programming team are not that great, but your production needs to be on point. For example, we had rains in February in Jim Corbett last edition of FFX, and it was crazy. But if we didn't have Rashmi and Namrata part of the team handling it, I don't think we would have been able to put up a show at all. So.
I think for Waves, it's always how we break down the organization. Like it's not just 3 people who are taking care of it. We have so many departments. So sponsorship is being taken care of by someone, the event manager is taking care of someone, the participants by someone. So we try to ensure that if something does go wrong, the entire team comes together. And since our fest is usually in November, it's always raining in Goa. Like you can never predict Goa's weather. So we had this case where 2 years ago, we had the indie night and Mr. Anand Bhaskar was performing, and it started raining all of a sudden, and we had to just get everyone to go inside the auditorium. And we know we have 4,000 kids on campus, and it's not enough. The auditorium is not enough for everyone to sit down and enjoy the night as such. But somehow, I think when the team comes together, you tend to just pull that off. You have a plan in hand, and you make sure that whatever happens, you try to enjoy it as in the best way that you can. Even with the accommodation and everything, like you said, it is hard to ensure that you accommodate everyone on campus or off campus. Because even when we are accommodating people off campus, it's another headache to ensure that they're here on time, that whatever they need is provided to them properly. On campus, it's much easier. But it's just making sure that it's planned early hand. You don't leave anything to the last moment. It's not up to one person to handle everything. As long as you have a plan in your hand, you're going to be okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. This has been such a delightful session. I think to just sort of see your journeys, Toral, from seeing Thespo being almost like a lighthouse that's guiding the community, Kaptin, with you creating such immersive experiences, Jay, such focused, ideas about not just the content and curation of the programming, but also the audience and the intersections of the audience with other communities, and Priyal, just looking at how much you look forward to this idea of belonging and freedom for your kids, as you said. I'm just going to quote you there. It's just really exciting to see how all of you are sort of, there are elements of learning that we've seen emerge over the last year that you've so, consciously and emphatically spoken about. The elements of listening to your communities that you've spoken about. And there are very clear elements of leading where some of you have sort of let opened the stage up for the community to take charge and lead and take decisions. So it's been a real pleasure to listen to all of you. So thank you, Kaptin, Toral, Jay, and Priyal for sharing your insights with us and sharing your thoughts with us. To Aniket and Radhika for, it was been really exciting to have you share the moderation stage with me and to see you take charge of this conversation. Completely different questions from what I would have asked. So thank you for that. I'd like to take a moment also to thank all our audience members who've seen our sessions online, on Zoom and FB Live. And our teams on the back end, British Council and the Artex company, for just managing everything smoothly, behind the scenes and on our computer screens. All our interpreters are language interpreters, and we also have a sign language interpreters who will be interpreting the session separately. And when we upload the video online, we'll have the sign language interpretation as well. We also have illustrated graphics of this session by Sharda, who's been patiently listening to all of you, and she'll be making these beautiful collages and perhaps caricatures of all of you, which you will see. And if you'd like to receive a copy, do write to us. The email ID is just there. There's a poll that has come up. We are organizing an AMA session for students and young professionals. So you'll be able to chat with an expert from the festival sector. If you'd like to participate, let us know, and we will send you more information on that session. We also would like to thank our partners for this event, Under 25 and Commune, for being our outreach partners, and also educational institutions who help spread the word. The O.P. Jindal Global University in North India and Shiv Nadar University, ISD School of Design, and Indian Institute of Journalism and New Media for sharing this information about this event amongst your student communities. In the next few weeks, we're initiating a network for festival managers, directors, and professionals within the festival space to form a sort of online community. So do expect to hear from us soon. Our next Festival Connection session is a workshop on sponsorship. It's scheduled for Thursday, 25th February at the same time and same platform. This is a limited capacity workshop where participants will be will need to be screened. So please do look out for our emails in your inbox and apply as soon as you can. With that, have a great evening. Stay safe, stay comfortable, stay hopeful. Thank you, everyone.